I have your attention? Let's go. The show. You know. We're ready, so let's go. Take your bow, you're in front of the crowd. Trying to steal the show. I know you so. You better prepare for war. Are you ready? It's now. Welcome to the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a very special day. It's our second anniversary show. I'm not joined by one co-host. No. I'm joined by two. My first co-host, the original co-host. You know him, you love him. He's David the Smart Mark. And my second co-host, he's a fine connoisseur of pastries at a local establishment in Chicago, Jake from the Windy City. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Oh my goodness. Thank you for having us, man. The three of us finally together. Our first episode with all three of us. I am so looking forward to it. David, it's finally great to talk to you again. It's good to see you.
Yeah, the last time we properly spoke was on a certain other more successful podcast. But, mate, now it's me and you again. We can get rid of that Burkhead fella and we can start our own march, a triumphant march forward in the podcasting world.
Move on without Burkhead. Ditto with that.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Radio Free Pro Wrestling. Sean, carry on.
Well, I'm just
Awkward.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host of this fine professional wrestling podcast. We are RFPW, the home of professional wrestling debate, and I am Mackenzie Mitchell's favorite podcaster. Sorry, Boris, not sorry.
His jokes are great, aren't they?
Yeah, I've faced them for the past month, so.
Yeah, you've done a sterling job, my friend.
All right, let's do this.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, no time to waste. We are going straight to the control center to catch these two fine gentlemen up on the weekend professional wrestling news.
This is your Radio Free Pro Wrestling Control Center. All the wrestling news you need to know.
Okay, up first, back last Friday, Impact had Victory Road, and guess who showed up? One Bobby Fish, and apparently he came down and cut a blistering promo about his former employer, AEW. Now, stories have gone on that he's not officially signed with Impact Wrestling. He's doing a per-date based appearances as they are going to have Bound for Glory in his neck of the woods in Albany, New York. So what do you think about Bobby Fish being in Impact Wrestling?
Oh man, I gotta say that it was really a pleasant surprise when I found out about it online. And as we know, as I read, PW Insider has more details on the current status of Fish. He has not yet officially signed with Impact Wrestling, but as of right now, he is currently set to work Bound for Glory on October 7th. So, and also the following TV tapings the next night. But yeah, I mean, it is a pleasant surprise, and yeah, this will be pretty interesting to see how Fish will fit in the Impact Wrestling roster. It's kind of unfortunate because I really thought AEW was going to do their damnedest to keep Bobby Fish. And I mean, look what happened. Last month. We saw we saw Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bobby Fish turn on the Young Bucks, and I thought it was an amazing turn on them. And I thought, and I hoped that we were going to see that match between, the Elite, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega against the Undisputed Elite. But looks like it's not going to happen as of right now.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I echo Jake's sentiments. It's a pleasant surprise, and that's two. Let's presume he's going to sign. Okay, let's just presume, hypothetically, he's going to sign. With him, we discussed Joe Hendry coming in last week. Sean, that's two decent signings for Impact, certainly from the wrestling capability angle. One point that immediately sprung to me this week and has amused me immensely, and I'll be interested in your two takes on it because you haven't mentioned it yet, right? There was the story that came out that Bobby allegedly tried to take Kyle and Adam with him out of AEW. I presume you've read that.
Yep.
right?
It was on Fightful Select. Sean Ross Sapp.
That's fairly
some
reliable as well.
Yeah.
Isn't it? That was fairly reliable reporting from. Now, cast your mind back to a Ring of Honor moment, because Bobby Fish must be getting awfully hacked off. I think we'd all agree, all three of us, Red Dragon, mint tag team. One of the best I've seen in recent years. I'd put them up with not far with the Briscoes, FTR, etc., of that quality. Yet again, Bobby Fish has been cast aside. You think to when Kyle O'Reilly, ironically, took the Ring of Honor title from Adam Cole. What did they do? They split Red Dragon up.
Yep.
What's happened here? Red Dragon's been split up again. Now, where do you think this comes from? Is it Bobby Fish is allegedly a little bit difficult to work with? We shall see.
Sure.
But I'm certainly pleased he's in Impact Wrestling. Thoughts, guys?
To piggyback off of what you said about maybe Bobby Fish being difficult to work with, we saw a little bit, we heard a little bit about his outburst against CM Punk a couple weeks ago on his podcast about not getting along with Punk, and thought he thought he was going into business for himself. Yeah, I mean, who knows what's legitimate? Who knows what the right side is here? So, but yeah, I mean, really profane laden too. So it's really weird to see this right now. I mean, all this commotion going on, and Sean, what do you think of this too?
Well, Jake, I kind of feel bad because I really want to see that Red Dragon versus FTR match. We probably we're going to get now. Also, they had a great setup for that Elite versus the Undisputed, whatever you want to call them, in AEW. We're not going to see that now. But there is one match I want to see in Impact Wrestling now, since Bobby Fish is there. It's him versus Josh Alexander.
That'll be a tremendous match for the title as well, so it'll be pretty good.
Okay, gentlemen, we're moving on to our second story. Just this previous day, Malachi Black went onto Instagram to do a live stream saying that he's not been released by AEW and he's coming back. This piggybacks off another story that Buddy Matthews was another member of the House of Black that was wanting to try to leave AEW. Over the weekend, he was wrestling in an independent show in Rhode Island. He took the mic and said that, like his brother Malachi, he's going to take some time away. Later on, he went onto his own Twitter account, posted an image saying fake news, and apparently they're taking a couple months off and hopefully be back with AEW. So what in the world is going on in the House of Black?
Whew. Man, I don't know what to say here. I think it just shows the amount of chaos that is going on, and I think this is the time for for Tony Khan to at least start picking up the phone and maybe to at least take some control here, and to address a little bit of the things here. I mean, we heard some of the reports that Black has been given a conditional quote unquote release from AEW, but we've seen a lot of reliable reports, especially from Fightful, about the possibility of contract tampering from WWE, and then hearing them sending out some feelers to various former staff who are now currently wrestling in AEW. I mean, here's the thing, though. I mean, we heard a couple of wrestlers. We know that they reached out to FTR, they reached out to Miro, but from what I'm hearing is that they're not interested in going back to WWE. But I mean, we saw what happened with Black. I mean, I was there at All Out, and then I saw him giving a bow to the crowd as he was going back up the ramp after he finished his match, and now Buddy Matthews in this situation as well. So I'm really curious to see, and a little bit concerned about what Brody King's going to do next, and even what Julia Hart is doing next. I mean, to be honest with you, she's been tremendous. Yeah, she was tremendous in the House of Black. So I'm very curious to see what they're going to go next with those guys.
I think Julia Hart's getting concussion treatment for the next 3 or 4 weeks, Jake.
Oh, well, yeah, that might be true, so.
After that table bump, mate, on Rampage.
But that was scary. Yeah, that was a scary bump on Rampage. I saw the crowd video of it as well, so that yes. I mean, at least she's okay. At least she walked on her 2 feet, so he's getting help on the back. So, I mean, hopefully she won't be out in the sidelines for too long.
I think one thing that's interesting is, please, I'm gonna, you know me, guys, on this. If I offend you with my opinions, I offend you with my opinions. But I personally don't give a stuff what happens to Buddy Matthews. He's never ever interested me in his wrestling career. He still will continue not to unless something happens. Tommy End is a different kettle of fish. That man is so genuinely talented. Sean, I think we mentioned it last week. He's a Muay Thai expert. He's a legit tough guy. And what he can do in the ring as a pro wrestler, there's not many that can. And plus you've got the air of mystery. You can play with that character, almost circa Raven from ECW. I would liken him to, because I'm that old. You know, there's so much you can do. And if Tony loses him, he's lost a huge talent. For whatever reason, you picked it up and you didn't expand on it, Jake. You picked it up when you said Khan needs to get on that bloody telephone and he needs to sort his locker room out. Irrelevant of whose corner you're in, whether it's Punk's the Young Bucks, well, Punk the Young Bucks, Fish, there is too much of it going on, and it will destroy a product that we have gained to love in certain places.
Sure.
Because the WWE, whether it likes it or not, needed AEW. Because look what's happening to the WWE at the moment. Slowly, it's getting better. Although saying that, I stayed up for Raw last night, and I may have changed my mind, but that's another story. But it needs a good AEW, and if Khan loses it because he's too matey, whatever, you know, we hear all the stories, whether he's too mates with them, whether he hasn't got control, whether it's the inmates running the asylum, but he needs now. He's had enough warnings. He needs to get a grip of his locker room, and that's what I think he needs to do straight away.
And to talk about WWE here, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of online discussion about, WWE, they're not a monopoly. They're not doing these kind of, aggressive tactics. Look, they've been doing this for 40 years.
Yeah.
Ever since, Vince McMahon took over the company. Look what he did. He went into other people's territories in the United States and started to acquire their talent, raid their talents. Hogan, Gene Okerlund, Jesse Ventura, etc. And look, several years ago with NXT UK, why was NXT UK around? To try to invade the UK independence.
And now he screwed the UK.
Yeah, and look what happened. And look what happened over there. This is their MO. It's aggressive, dirty tactics to try to become, the only game in town. This has been happening for 40 years, and unfortunately, I don't think Triple H is really helping the situation at all. So yeah, I mean, look what happened several months ago. MLW has filed a lawsuit against WWE for an antitrust issue. So
I've forgotten about that, Sean. Jake, sorry. That's a good. I tell you what, right? I'd slightly disagree with you a little bit in that I think Triple H is improving the quality of the programming.
Sure. Yeah. But he's a competitor too. So
yeah, no. I don't disagree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. The MO has never changed. You bang on, and as I say, the primest example is they've come into the UK. They've diamond mined, no pun intended, all the talent that they want out of there, and then they've discarded some really, really good talent, which actually has worked well because we've seen in Rev Pro, ICW and Progress certainly over the recent weeks some talent come back, which is great because by Christ they needed it, otherwise they were dying. But yeah, the MO's never changed, but I would disagree slightly in that I'd given up with WWE programming. Now I'm being drawn back into watching it again.
Well, guys, what I got a feeling is maybe Tony reached out to Malachi and Buddy Matthews and went, hey guys, let me give you a couple of months off. Let's everything cool down. We'll readdress some situations, try to get you guys back towards the upper part of this promotion. I think that's the true story here, because we're looking at two truths here, like Tony's truth, Malachi's truth, and Buddy Matthews' truth, and in the middle here is the actual truth. Now, I've got a feeling that yes, the WWE did reach out to both gentlemen Tony wasn't happy about it, and he's giving them some time off to just get their mindset right so they can stay with the company.
Good point, mate. If that's the case, as we discussed last week, do you bring Aleister Black back as a singles competitor? Screw the House of Black.
I mean, you basically written off the House of Black in a way with that match on Rampage this past Friday where we saw the great freaking Muda do the miss on Betty Matthews. That could be the perfect end to the House of Black. And best winner out of all of this is Julia Hart because she's in the best place in 2 different factions now. First it was the Varsity Blondes, now it's the House of Black. She's the winner. She's the sole survivor of this thing.
She didn't look a winner on Friday.
But hey, Julia Hart, she's doing great, and she's beautiful as well. So I'll give her credit for that too. Aspect too. We're in a lot of trouble here.
You are. Go on, Sean.
Okay. Our third news story of the week happened over this past weekend as a bunch of people being bought by player Teddy Long, including Radio Free Professional Wrestling and some Jake Allenar guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened here, but I do want to preface by saying we do want to give our condolences to Teddy Long. He did give some updates on Busted Open yesterday morning. Overall, it's been a rough weekend, and we found out that his wife passed away as well. So yeah, kind of unfortunate news. Really sad. And then and then he has to deal with all this stuff. So it's really unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, seeing all that, I mean, I feel so bad, and then seeing all the tweets come up, the various wrestlers and personalities that say that I mean, he was hacked, no simple way about it. So
it's unfortunate. Yeah, it is unfortunate because his wife's died, but it's the wacky world. I don't know whether that's the phrase I'm looking for, but it is the world of professional wrestling, and he's sort of old school, and it'll never change. Yeah. And I think it's better for it.
David, when I first saw all these blockings happening, in the back of my mind, I wasn't thinking he was hacked. I was thinking, you were thinking, Teddy Long's from that generation where, keep it kayfabe, draw some interest here. I'll just block a few people, just get my... But I didn't know anything about his wife passing away, so we would like to express our condolences to Mr. Teddy Long on the passing of his wife. And yeah, like Jake said, later on we found out that he got hacked, and whoever has the time to hack these people need to do something better with their lives. So you have this talent to do this, put it to good.
Dealing with this stuff in his personal life and then putting this on top of it. So it's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
We're going to move over to our final news story of the week, and what Radio Free Professional Wrestling episode would be without me using this to give you a Jenny update. As we have a Jenny update here. She has been recovering from an injury. She's came over to the United States for a few times to get some treatment for an injury. She's waiting on her visa to get updated. So she's still underneath contract with the WWE, and everything is right in the world.
What do you want us to say?
Absolutely nothing, because I just want to throw out here, since Jake has this thing for Julia Hart, I'm going to keep my thing going here hey, Jenny, I'm over here.
Mate, you've got to, I mean, obviously you're nails, but you've got to take Gunther on.
I don't care.
I mean, you have your thing, Sean. So, and I have my thing. So, we'll keep up with that. So,
yeah. Thank Christ, you two have never discovered mine yet.
We don't know yet, so maybe you'll reveal it soon. So, and all that. So, I want to ask you, David. Now that it's been over a little bit over a few weeks since NXT UK has rest in peace. Overall, has it been a success in your opinion, or was it disappointment, do you think?
That's a good question. I think it's been a success in the fact it gave so many good... I mean, let's face it, for those that watched it and knew about it, it was universally loved because of the quality of the wrestling. So therefore, it's wrestlers that I've grown up with as a child suddenly getting their big chance and being shown off on a bigger stage. Now, here's one for you. NXT the other week had the Jordan Devlin,
Tyler
Bate main event.
Tyler Bate.
Yeah? Now, I got drawn into it, and I didn't even think about my comment here. And I'll be honest about this, guys. They announced it as the main event, and I actually put a comment on the NXT Facebook page. Oh, no, not this again. Because I've seen it so many bloody times. And then I got some in Finest Wrestling trolling, I got some abuse back. I got, not everyone watches NXT UK, and I'm like, lads, I've seen this in Over the Top. I've seen this in the Midlands Pro Wrestling that Trent Seven owns. So for me, yes, it was a success, but only just. It could have been so much better if they'd done more special events, like utilising Blackpool more. Because you look at those. You look at NXT Takeover UK when they actually put more UK wrestlers in. It's given us Pretty Deadly. I can't knock that because, as Sean will tell you, we love Pretty Deadly. But they
gave us some great Walter matches too.
Yep.
I mean,
Ilya Dragunov got on a platform that maybe he wouldn't necessarily have done.
And you got Jim Cornette praising it too, so that's a positive there too.
I'm gonna hold my hand up. I'm a Cornette guy. I am a Cornette guy. Like me or loathe me for it, but I am. As long as you can differentiate between when he's talking really, really good sense and when he's just been abusive because he's fallen out with that individual during his career, then, I'm fine with it.
Sure.
But I find him very entertaining and he talks a lot of sense. But no, NXT UK, just bear in mind there's a backstory here that maybe we'll do on another show. The guy running it, I'm not a fan of, which was Smallman. Guy who ran, I've never been a Jim Smallman fan. And that there's a long story behind that we haven't got time for on this podcast. But even allowing for that, once he'd got over the initial start of NXT UK, when he just regurgitated progress plot lines, storylines that he'd done, and you got into more and more in indie come down. They brought in the ICW guys, they brought in the Rev Pro guys, and they just brought in WXW guys as well, which is where Walter came from. It was a success, and it's a shame that I do think it is a mistake going to NXT Europe, because I think you'll get more and more North Americans in there, bizarrely.
Sure. I'm wondering where it's going to be based out of when it does eventually come back. So, yeah, I'm very curious to see if this will follow up. And then they released a lot of people, too, after, the cancellation of NXT UK. So, I wonder what kind of talents they're going to have there in that show.
I think, in answer to that, and I might be wrong here, and I don't know, I think it'll be based out of Germany, out of the WXW studios.
I mean, that could be a good possibility, especially since that promotions feature on Peacock underneath the umbrella that is the WWE Network. That would be a very smart move, I do believe, David. Now, to piggyback to your question about NXT UK being successful, to the WWE, I think it was successful because it shut down a lot of interest in British independent wrestling, because we were going to have that relaunch of World Sport, and that's exactly the reason they launched NXT UK.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I remember that special. That first special, I think New Year's Eve of 2017, 16 or 17, I believe. Jim Ross was a guest commentator on World of Sport, if you remember. Yep. And what happened like a few months later? I mean, the WWE re-signed him.
The biggest mistake they made with World of Sport was putting it on terrestrial telly, ITV, in the UK, because they tried to make it a bit like Gladiators. A bit like Ninja UK. They did, foam fingers, and the talent roster that they got, because they got Ospreay and they got Zack Sabre and, people like that, and gave them a platform. But the hour wasn't long enough, and also producing was a gentleman called Alex Shane, which, if you know the UK wrestling business, right, you'll know that he necessarily, and I'm going to be polite here, he necessarily wasn't the guy to go to. But I can also understand why ITV went to him, which meant it was never going to work. And it didn't.
Maybe it was to test him as well. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, it went down the drain pretty fast. Yeah,
it did. But it did. And I think, irrelevant of NXT UK, Jake, I think it had gone down the drain under its own merits, because ultimately it wasn't very good.
Mm-hmm. Its own merits too. Yep. I agree with you on that.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that has been your control center for this second anniversary episode of Radio Free for Professional Wrestling. We are heading over to our first triple threat Stunning 6 questions.
Woohoo!
It's time for the Stunning 6 questions. All the wives, and what have they done now? Hopefully Sean and Jake can figure it out.
Okay, gentlemen. Stunning question number 1. We saw the debut of Saraya back last Wednesday on AEW Dynamite. So my question to you, gentlemen, who should be the very first opponent for Saraya if she's medically cleared?
You first, David.
Simple answer: Serena Dweeb. No other option.
I piggyback off of that as well. I mean, she would, as of right now, like, the Observer has reported that she's not yet cleared, but I mean, it wouldn't make sense to sign her if she wasn't cleared, right? For Tony Khan to do that. So, but yeah, her against Serena Deeb, it would be, I think, to me, it would bring at least some eyeballs in the women's division more, and at least some time with it, because like both those gals are fantastic. I mean, some other opponents I would love to see. I would love to see Saraya against Britt Baker. I mean, to see what those two can do.
Yeah, in the long run, yeah.
In the long run, too.
But Sean asked immediately, and to me, that's a no-brainer. Give a chance to get in with someone who isn't going to hurt her. Because let's face it, there's been a lot of that in the AEW ladies division. Dweeb is skilled. You can build it. You've got a couple of dream matches in there of her with Britt Baker and of her with Thunder Rosa when Rosa's fit. I'd love to see them. I would personally also love to see, and I touched on this with Sean on Messenger when the night she debuted, and I actually was at 2:00 in the morning bouncing around my wrestling room here at home when she debuted, because I wasn't expecting it, because she only lives an hour and a half from me when she's in the UK, but I want to see her bring her mum in. Her mum is the best female heel I have seen while I've been watching wrestling, bar none. She is magnificent, and boy, can she go in the ring. She's in her 50s, but she can go in the ring. Can she? You can see where Paige got it from, because obviously it's well documented about the wrestling family. I'm not even going to bore you with that. But her mum, Sweet Saraya Knight, is just wonderful.
Hey, David and Jake, I agree with you. I think Deebs is the perfect first opponent for Saraya here. Just for the simple fact, out of that 4-way match on AEW Dynamite last week, Deebs was kicking butt. I felt like they should have gave her the title in that match. And I was like, after that match, I'm going like, her versus Saraya would be amazing. Also, I will give a second opponent being Sheeta.
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah, fair with that.
That would be pretty interesting to watch too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I know the money match is her versus Britt Baker, but let's just save that for a little bit. We need to build up this women's division just a little bit. So let's have her
build up Saraya. Yeah, I like the way
that.
Yeah, I like the way that what they did with CM Punk. First when we first joined back in August last year, that they built him up with like some of the more mid card type of talents, like especially with Team Taz. Like he went with Hobbs and Ricky Starks as well. So I will like to see the same for Saraya as well.
Okay, gentlemen. Standing question number 2. If you watched this past Friday night SmackDown, there was an amazing promo segment to kick off the show. It's the Bloodline. They're in the ring, all 5 of them. And poor Sami Zayn, you thought they were going to finally kick him out of it. But the Tribal Chief, he has a gift. He gave him a new T-shirt, and Jey Uso looked like he was going to murder somebody. So my thing to you guys is Sami Zayn the person that should beat Roman Reigns for this title?
Wow. That sounds like a simple question, but it's actually a loaded question at the same time. Here's the thing. Maybe the best solution to this, we still know that, well, look, at Crown Jewel, Roman Reigns is still going to face Logan Paul for the title. But maybe not long after that, I would love to see the 2 belts split up, to be honest with you. And maybe that could be a chance for Sami Zayn to politic his way to get one of the belts. Maybe for the black belts, the World Championship belts. But there are some clues that are leading to this eventual thing. And if they're not leading up to this, I don't know what the point of all this is. So, to be honest with you,
I'll keep it simple. No, no, he shouldn't. No, he shouldn't. Here's my point of why he shouldn't. You've had all these. He's fought Lashley. He's fought Lesnar. He's fought Goldberg. He's fought Drew in a big money match in a big stadium live event. And then Sami Zayn is the one to take the title from him. No, of course he isn't.
I'm just like trying to PC this.
No,
PC
yeah.
this
No.
way and
You're
trying to
all right.
find some
You're all right, dude.
solutions.
I'm afraid I hit the shovel.
I agree
hit the
with you,
shovel
but-
on the head. So no, he should. I mean, but you think about this. It negates all the stuff that the WWE have done with Reigns. Yeah. You could have a little 1, 2, 3 kid, surprise win, like he did over
Sure.
Razor Ramon.
You
That
can have
one not long
Hornswoggle
ago.
win it for goodness sake.
Yeah, but it's not. It's no. Why do all this work with Roman to have him? And as talented as Sammy is, and he is, him and Kevin Owens are unbelievably underutilized in that show. But no.
Well, I'll disagree with you, David. I feel like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are being spotlighted in WWE right now. I feel like they have come out like smelling like roses because they're in 2 highlighted spots on Raw and SmackDown. They're getting TV time each and every week. And if they were in AEW, one of them probably would be still in the main event scene right now. The other one would probably be on Dark.
Yeah, that's a fair point, and I'm not going to argue with it. But what I would say is, out of the talent, I look at talent and ability, and both of them are head and shoulders above a hell of a lot of what's being pushed. To me, I'd love to see them paired up together and be tag team champions, either on SmackDown or Raw. I'm not bothered which. And given a run with tag team belts, I think that would be justifiable reward for a lot of loyal service that they've given the WWE now.
Okay, gentlemen, stunning question number 3. As I'm pitching ideas for world titles here, we're going over to New Japan Pro Wrestling. The current champion is Jay White, and this past weekend we saw the Guerrilla of Destiny come back together. So my question to you is Tama Tonga the person to beat Jay White to go face Okada?
You spelt that wrong. It should have said Will Ospreay.
I agree. David, I agree with David. Will Ospreay should have the belt at this point to be in my opinion. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, with Tama Tonga, like watching the New Japan product over the past several years, he just doesn't do it for me. The Guerrillas of Destiny, they're not my favorite thing to watch, really. And I mean, to be honest with you, them having a lot of the spotlight, ever since the Elite left, pretty much like decreased my interest more in New Japan. I mean, to be honest with you, like outside of the G1, which to be honest with you, was really I wasn't really that interested. And then along with this, and I don't know.
The G1 was a disappointment this year, wasn't it, guys? Let's face it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. There are like some 4-star matches, but it's the same. It's the same formulaic matchups, and it's like we know that Will Ospreay versus Shingo Takagi would be a great match, but it's still the same. Like we've seen that match like several different times. So
my Tyler Bate, Jordan Devlin point, exactly that. I take it you do, Sean. I take it you do. Me and Jake keep giving our opinions quite strongly here. I take it you do.
Okay, so to defend my position here, if you go to YouTube, type in Hikaru leaves Bullet Club, you get this clip where you see Jay White in the ring. They're beating down some people.
I saw that too.
Runs down to the ring, he makes the save, and Jay White calls out Hikaru, and you think he's going to side with Jay White. Jay White looks like he's laughing like the Joker, and the brothers come back together and beat the heck out of Jay White. And Jay White cuts an amazing post-match interview where he's just sitting on the floor going like, I should have saw this coming. If it was me, I would do the exact same thing. I can't believe I didn't see it. So I'm just interested. They're going to have this match come up in October, and I get every feeling in my being that Jay White's going to keep this title. It's going to be Jay White versus Okada. But if you want to make a divergence here and just have an intern champ, what normally New Japan would never do, this might be the time to do it, just for the heck of it. But that's just me.
Okay, I see what you're saying, but I don't know. Like,
I'm not as down on God as Jake is. I don't mind them, but do I think their main event? Very borderline. But Gato's booking recently has gone a little bit strange. He's gone very, very much hometown and pro his own Japanese wrestlers. And that is very obvious. It's very obvious to a Western audience at the moment. it's very difficult because I've been pro Ospreay for about 15 years now. Ever since I first met him as as one of the Swords of Essex with Paul Robinson. And this is just me showing my age and and stuff, but that's why I think Sean has me. But yeah, no, I'm pro Ospreay all the way, and there's only one person that should have that title at the moment.
Yeah. I'm happy that Wrestle Kingdom in a few months will only be one night. They're switching back to a one night show, which I'm very happy about, and it's going to be on a Wednesday, which will obviously conflict with Dynamite. So it looks like Danielson's not going to be in it, but it'll be. I really hope, since they have the tag titles, that FTR will at least defend the titles at the Tokyo Dome. So
well, they're not likely to be booked on Dynamite, are they, if the books have anything to do with it?
Sure. Makes sense.
Interesting you talk about Dynamite. Standing question number 4. Should Tony Khan let unhappy talent leave AEW to lighten the roster that he already has? Because I'm going to go ahead and say to you guys, he should.
Sure, but I've said this about WWE several years back. I mean, yeah, it's a loaded roster. I agree with that. I think Dustin Rhodes said a couple months ago that hey, if people want to leave AEW, go on right ahead. But at the same time, I hate to say it, but you sign a contract, and at some points you're gonna have to do as what you're told. I mean, AEW is not on the road doing house shows every week. They're basically working like only two shows on the same day on Wednesday. So, I mean, I said this about WWE when Mike Kanellis wanted to ask for his release. I mean, hey, you just signed a new deal. I mean, I don't know why you decided to re-sign in the first place, but I don't know. That's just me.
I think the Kanellis one was more. Your point's valid, but I think the example of Kanellis was a little more complicated in the fact that I think Maria, when this had all happened, had just fallen pregnant again with the second child, and I think he was just doing what any bloke would do and making sure he got a living wage for his family. But your point is valid, Jake. But I think that maybe was an answer to that example. It is a difficult one, and you've gone through that very well. I personally am more erring on the side of Sean's view, in that I think that they should be allowed to leave. And the rumours that I've heard are Tony Storm and Adam Page are very, 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 very unhappy in AEW and should be got out of there immediately, so I don't have to watch them on a Wednesday night.
All that Hangman Page? I didn't really.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Page. Never have been. And I've always been Team Punk as well. So obviously, more recently, he's given me even more reason to legitimately dislike him.
Yeah, I'm the Chicago guy here, so it's.
Yeah, mate. That was the mention of Mindy's earlier on, made me just extremely jealous.
Oh, I mean, Mindy's Bakery brightens my day every day. And I feel like after eating those muffins, it makes me want to take a chair and just throw it to my coworker. I mean,
is our CM Punk. He is our
throw it to my coworker, yeah, and all types of. I mean, it proves right there. Sugar is it's one hell of a substance too, outside of those other drugs, man. So for real, man.
I don't know where you're going with this, mate, but I like it. I love it. That's absolutely awesome. Sorry, Sean. I can't believe you got hijacked by Mindy's Bakery.
Well, David, I would have super kicked the door down to get some of those homemade potato chips.
Yeah, to be fair, but I've got to be honest. I've never wanted a muffin more while laughing during that press conference.
Oh yeah, it's really interesting. It's interesting because look at the Now Arena, internet connection was so crap. I mean, I couldn't get a signal. I couldn't get any reception. I couldn't get any reception in the building. So I did not find about. I haven't found out about the press conference until until I arrived home, like literally 45 minutes later, and I was talking to the guys at Sunday Night's Main Event after my call. So yeah, I was completely oblivious to it, and then when I found out, I was like, "What the hell? How did I miss this?" So I was like,
Well, he messaged because he knows the time difference. Sean messaged me and said, "Get on the press conference. At least see the first 25 minutes you need to." So I was like, "Well, half asleep." Oh, all right, okay. He's done that for a reason. And I put it on, and I was just like, my jaw dropped. I have to say, I thought it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
"Oof, yeah, crazy." What's up next, Sean?
Okay, stunning question number 5. We are going back to last week's episode of AEW Dynamite, as the first match was Claudio Castagnoli versus Chris Jericho for Ring of Honor World Title. Gentlemen, is Chris Jericho the right person to have this belt now?
Ooh, this is tough. I was a little bummed that Claudio lost the title after a few months. I really wanted to see at least like a little bit of a lengthy run on him for the Ring of Honor World Title. But after thinking about it for a little bit, if Ring of Honor does want to have a TV deal, some sort of broadcasting deal, and some sort of media partner to support them, it kind of makes sense to have a big star in Chris Jericho to be your world champion. But yeah, I mean, I can see both sides to this as well. I mean, I would have loved to see what Claudio would continue to do with the title, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. Well, with this, but it's interesting with the sports entertainment gimmick that Jericho has right now. I'm really interested to see how he will treat the title, and because like this upcoming Wednesday, he's going to face Bandito for on Dynamite. I mean, then that's going to be a pretty cool match, and then it'll be pretty interesting to see how he'll treat the Ring of Honor World Championship.
I've got two schools of thought here. I've got no issue with it because it's one of the top 3 of AEW, top 3 names anyway of AEW. And they put the Ring of Honor World Title on it. You can see why they've done it. The Ocho, there's only him and Punk within the world that has won every major world title. I think that came up during the week. And I'd be more pro it if Ring of Honor had some standalone events coming up that they could put Jericho versus whoever at the top of the card. You have a major world-renowned wrestling name at the top of your card in the main event. So it's possible going to put bums on seats, eyes on the product. Now, here's my concern. Can Jericho pull off a consistent Ring of Honor style match at his age and in his condition? That's the question. Now, they got away with it with Claudio because they had him it was in AEW, they had him do shenanigans, we had the low blow, etc. So, but if you're in Ring of Honor, you know the style of wrestling that's going to be required. And with all due respect to Chris, I've got no issue with Chris Jericho whatsoever. He's still one of the biggest names AEW have got, and I can see the logic of it. The proof will be upcoming. So I'm on the shelf a little bit. I'm in between two schools. I will wait and see what style of match. And you've already said it, Mr. Jake. He's got Bandito, who will only do, who is a Ring of Honor style wrestler. And it'll be interesting to see how they, if there's ghosts and mirrors and what have you, and there's a little bit of shenanigans goes on for him to retain the belt going forward. Sean?
Well, gentlemen, let me back up here. My original reaction when I saw Chris Jericho beat Claudio Castagnoli was, what the beep? And after that night, and in the next couple days, I thought about it makes perfect sense because that is one of the big 3 people in AEW. I know Tony Khan wants to try to get Ring of Honor their own TV. And, oh, by the way, the pure champion is Daniel Garcia. Later down the road here, we can have a title unification match.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And the first real champion underneath this new Ring of Honor banner can be Daniel Garcia on his own TV show.
Yep.
And that first match being him beat Chris Jericho, and that's going to draw ratings.
I did not see that. So it's like, yeah, Garcia has the pure championship, so that could be the potential of really good storytelling there if down the line. So that'll be pretty interesting to watch.
Yeah.
See, I can have good ideas sometimes. Sometimes I can have good ideas. Okay, 6th and final studying question here for you, gentlemen. Are you going out your way to see this match coming up in Noah at, I want to say in January? It's going to be Sting and the Great Muta in a tag match versus a couple of people. my first thought was, I wish this was on North America where I could go see this match because I'm big in Sting and Great Muta, but I'm going to go out my way to try to find this Noah match.
Oh, as a Sting mark, I'll definitely go out of my way to do so. And I've really been liking Noah's product, to be honest with you, over the past year. I mean, they have a similar tournament to the G1 called the N1 Victory, and they have a lot more talented people on it. And I mean, to be honest with you, like, yeah, I wish Sting and Great Muta would have done something here in the West, or North America or Europe, but I have no problem with it. And then, yeah, I mean, as a Sting mark myself, I would definitely want to watch this one more time.
Yeah, 3 for 3, guys. I'm hoping, because obviously it's slightly different for me here in the UK, the way I get my product, and I mainly rely on the Fight TV app, of which I've got an account. So hopefully that's the sort of card that they're going to put on. They put most things of any note on it, like including Flair's last match. They've now put Wrestle Kingdom on there, and even some major British cards. So yeah, that'll be a take my money. I'll watch that.
Dude, it's kind of unfortunate because, sorry to go off topic a little bit, but John Pollock from Post Wrestling reported yesterday that New Japan's return to the UK at the Copper Box for Royal Quest. He found out from Fight TV that they're not going to be airing it live, and it's not even going to be aired on New Japan. They're not even going to air it on New Japan World Live. It's so unfortunate because seeing a New Japan show in the UK, it would be. I mean, I remember watching it back in 2019 when they were in London. It was such a fantastic show. And then seeing,
I'm gobsmacked at.
Yeah, they report it, and John Pollock confirmed that, and it's really, really unfortunate that I don't know. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like at this point, it looks like New Japan's not doing their best. Maybe they just could care less about their fan base in the West. I'm going to quote right here. Fight TV confirmed to Post Wrestling that the Royal Quest cards will not be airing on the service this weekend and are scheduled to be only on demand on New Japan World in October. The 2-night event at Crystal Palace features, and look, this card right here at Crystal Palace, it features FTR defending the tag titles against Aussie Open on the first night, and Tetsuya Naito and Zack Sabre Jr. on the second night. To determine the next challenger for that. And then they did have some streaming issues a few years ago, but I find this to be inexcusable, David.
I must admit I was expecting to see that. I was aware of it. It's one of those things that sort of you plan for. I didn't. You've rather ruined my weekend there, Jay. Because I was looking forward to that. And obviously, if it's come from JP, we know that's reliable. Well, if it's not even going live on New Japan World, I'm not even going to download that because I get most of mine through Fight. It's a great little arena as well. For those of you that don't know, the Cobble Box is part of the big O2 where the WWE do their London shows now. Apart from there's 2 places the WWE will go, which is Wembley Arena and the O2. Yeah, no, it's just a nice little arena. It holds about 1,500 people, and you know what British crowds are like. They crave these shows. They crave seeing guys like Zack Sabre Jr. No matter what persona he comes in with, he's just going to get a hero's welcome. I can't believe that they would make money off that.
Absolutely.
If they'd have put that on Fight, and I can't understand for 1 minute.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't think they're even concerned about increasing their fan base in the West. So,
but that goes with Gaethjo's booking. Yeah, I think that we mentioned it earlier, and I think that is a little bit indicative of what they're doing at the moment. But anyway, before we go and Sean wraps up the show, last week I gave him a question. This week I'm going to give you 2 a question because that is my want as one of the OGs. Now, I want your considered, educated wrestling opinion. I actually respect the pair of you for your opinions, which is sometimes when I disagree with Sean, I don't, I still like to talk to him occasionally. I want your considered wrestling opinions over a promo that happened this week. I hope you've both seen it because it's compulsive viewing. What did you think of Marina Shafir's promo?
Oh man, I did see it on Twitter because a lot of people pointed that out. Yeah, it was excruciating. I'm not the biggest guy against scripted promos, unlike a lot of people are, because sometimes it can't. Bryan Danielson said it himself. Like he loves working with the writers, right? In WWE, and then
Yep.
he's still great in his promos here in AEW. And you can tell it's very authentic and it's not scripted. But it can help. It can be beneficial to a couple of other people who are not as confident in the mic. And Marina Shafir, oh my goodness, it was awful.
One point on what you just said, because obviously it was a setup, because it was just excruciating moment of wrestling television. You mentioned scripted promos. If that was scripted, what was it? Scripted by Cody Rhodes' daughter or something with crayons, because it was just, it can't have been scripted. I think she's just lost the plot and forgotten completely what she's going to say and made a complete dog's horlicks of it.
And
Sean, what did you think?
Well, luckily for myself, I did not see that promo, but I have been a person that has suffered through a few of her promos. I'm in a belief that you need to hide people's weaknesses and show their strengths. Her strength is in the ring. Just let her fight in the ring. Let her actions do the talking.
Yeah, not every person needs to talk. That's the thing. Yeah, not every person needs to showcase their weaknesses on the mic. I think that really helps with Dante Martin, because I love seeing him in the ring.
Yeah.
And especially Darby Allin. I love some of his promos, and Jungle Boy as well. They show. Their actions speak for itself. They don't need to cut promos like every single week. So
now, Sean, go find this, mate. It's awkward, to say the least, and give us your take on it next week. I'm not questioning the girl's in ring, because we know her background, we know her MMA background, we know, she's going to make it. She's got a good chance of making it as a pro wrestler, but they need to keep the mic away from her. They really, really do.
Yeah, seriously, it's crazy. And I'll turn the tables right now. I know we're going a little bit long. I'm hijacking Sean here, but I just can't help it. So okay, so but the thing is that I'm finally talking to you, David. Where in the UK do you live?
Cambridgeshire. Peterborough's the nearest town.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's not too far from London.
No. 40 minutes on the train.
Oh, okay. That's pretty good. We've heard the rumors. Whenever AEW does come to London, do you think it's going to be at Craven Cottage, where Fulham is at, or would you like to see it in a better arena that is shot well, that has better production values? Right. What do you think of that?
Right, okay, here's my take on this. If they use Craven Cottage, it would have to be in the summer. It'd have to be out of season.
Oh, yes.
Okay, it'd have to be out of football season. The logical place would be Wembley Arena for Tony, because obviously Tony knows London well. Then you've got the aforementioned, while Sean was away, O2 Arena, which is where the Copper Box is. It's just a little arena within an arena. But you've got some major places that if he brought half an AEW roster to the UK, he could charge what the hell he wanted and sell the lot. There is such a craving for AEW in the UK at the moment, you would not believe.
Oh, without a doubt. Like AEW would, it's pretty much without a doubt that AEW would sell their first show in London probably by 5 or 10 minutes. And like me as a Chicago guy, I love the crowd here in Chicago. We're energetic, but you guys in the UK, you're in a whole different level. You're a football country. It's so much better.
Thank you for calling it football.
Yeah, at least it's not, at least with crowds there, it's not as derogatory, quote unquote, as it was several decades back. You guys are having a lot of fun with those NXT UK shows, those takeovers. It would be magic to watch that first show.
You would. You'd have. But then, right, I'll turn that, like you have done with me a couple of times in this pod, I'll turn this on its head. me being from the UK, you see 4 areas of passionate wrestling crowds that I would personally give my left doobry to go to. You've got Chicago. Now, I don't mean to be offensive with your regional ideas, but you've got Chicago, and you've got where the stunning one's from. Because I genuinely contemplated coming over there at one point before my ill health. The deeps, obviously going back to the territory days, the Mid-South Coliseum is somewhere that I want to visit. And then for me,
yes.
And I've already done one of these, I've been lucky enough to do one of these. You've got Philly, and I've done New York. And I've been lucky enough to do New York in Manhattan and MSG. So
the Garden's still a great place, yeah. I mean, the crowd's still...
As an English sports fan, irrelevant of what we talk about, to walk in the Garden for the first time, I didn't know what to do with myself. Apart from buy the beer there because it's expensive.
Yes.
I did not know what to do with myself the first time I walked in the Garden. But it's like discussing with Sean about going to the Mid-South Coliseum. For me, as a wrestling fan, it's a bucket list. I've got to do it before I die.
Mm-hmm.
So it works that way as well. Yeah, we've got rowdy crowds. We've got unique crowds that come up with some great songs and some great chants and what have you. I think still one of the most original ones is the shoes off if you hate whoever, just holding your shoe up in the air, because it just looks weird. Like, why are those thousands of people holding their shoes in the air? But that's the weirdest English sense of humour. Yeah, I think Sean's stopping a hint. We'll hand over to Sean for the close-up, Jake.
Yep, they're all there. So, hey, just one more thing. The Mid-South Coliseum, I mean, they're still around. I mean, they're not holding any events for the past several years, but I mean, to still see the exterior of it would be pretty good. So, I mean, that's our basic gist of it. Back to you, Sean.
Well, that was your wrap up to the 76 questions, plus a little extra there about different locations that have great wrestling fandom. But before we go, we got to get some special thanks here. We got to thank Greg, Brad the Dad, Matthew Adler, Zane66, Eben Boers, Joe Adonato. They all been special guest hosts on Radio Free Professional Wrestling over the past 2 years. And David, let's go ahead and make this official. We are now the Freebirds because we got a third member, and that's Jake.
Yeah, damn right. He's officially part of the team. We're going to be using so much going forward, so much in the pipeline, so much for you that will involve 2 of the 3 of us, 3 of the 3 of us. Hey, 1 of the 3 of us. It doesn't matter. It's all good, and we're all looking forward to what the future holds, and it's only onwards and upwards.
It's an incredible privilege to join this team. I've been listening to you guys since day one, since you guys did the patron podcast challenge for Sunday night's main event.
Agnew. That was fixed, Agnew, you swine.
I mean, you guys had tremendous chemistry since the beginning, so I'm really happy to be a part of this team, and looking forward to many more episodes to come. So,
ladies and gentlemen, join us on Twitter at RadioFreePW. You can follow the stunning one, RPW host Sean. David, where can we find you on Twitter?
I'm Big Duds 6. I don't tweet much, but when I do, it's important. Big Duds D Brightly 6. Find me on Facebook, DJ Brightly. I'm more than happy to have any wrestling conversations with anyone. And soon, next year, the radio will return when I've got an extra person to have as a guest to put his Chicago 5 cents in. So I'll be looking forward to that in the new year.
And you can follow me at Jake Olinar on Twitter and jakeolinar.mp4 on Instagram. And if you want to hear me spit out some random takes, some random BS, feel free to follow me on there.
Ladies and gentlemen, David and Jake, Radio Free Professional Wrestling. Everybody have a stunning week, and this has been Podcast Entertainment.
Brother. Shout out Dan Lavransky.
This is Sergeant Arms of Christina on behalf of the guys. Thanks for listening to today's show. Please head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a 5-star rating and a review. Until next time, the liberation continues.